for the privilege and honor.
What's been keeping you busy? I think let's start there, because your career we can talk about for 5 hours. What has Bryan Habana been busy with?
So there's a few things. I'm Chief Commercial Officer and co-founder of a fintech platform called Paymenow. I co-founded a really cool sports tech company called Retroactive, out which we've just developed a MatchKit platform that won an award in New York this past week with our CEO Mike Sharman, and that
this past week
in
New
week.
York.
I wasn't in New York. I unfortunately didn't get the straw that Mike Sharman got, but he was in New York to collect the award. So my full-time job is as Chief Client Officer of Paymenow, Chief Relationship Officer for MatchKit and Retroactive, but in and around that, being able to do various ambassadorial commitments for HSBC, MasterCard. I was in with DHL in Dublin last week watching the Champions Cup final, where La Rochelle absolutely put one on against Leinster. So I've been very fortunate in this transition period, and I think understanding how tough it is for so many athletes, both men and women, no matter what sport you play, to make this transition period. I've been very grateful for opportunities, but also particularly with Mike and the team at Retroactive and MatchKit, understanding how important it is to almost make yourself financially fit and understanding, because it's a sheer drop when it's all said and done. You hang your boots up and you walk away. There's nothing that can replace the euphoria, the endorphins, the paycheck.
Yes.
Probably primarily, but I've been very fortunate.
Paycheck.
Yeah, I've been a ridiculous paycheck. A massive privilege and honor to receive that, but to train for a living, get paid extremely well to do it, travel the world, make friendships, the camaraderie that rugby has is special. So I have been very fortunate in the post-rugby transition period. Not quite where I want to be, but yeah, it's been a whirlwind. My wife is trying to count how many flights I'm having per year now, because it definitely has been a lot more than while I was playing.
That's crazy though, because I looked at how that transition has happened for you, and it's almost like you were trained for it. Never mind training for rugby. What was the secret? Because you hit the ground running. It was like, okay, fine. You went through the emotional stages of announcing your retirement, and then it was just Bryan Habana on the move, meetings, launching this, launching that, traveling. But there was a solid plan, and which is there right now.
I'm unfortunately going to disagree with you. There was a solid plan. I think like many, when you've only ever known one particular thing for 15, 20 years, to then step away from it. And I'm all for, trying to adequately prepare for the life after professional sports, dabble in a few things. But I was probably the most unbalanced professional athlete that there was, because I wanted to be the best winger in the world for as long as I could do that. And a lot of my time got spent focusing on what was needed to do that, how you eat, how you train. I did eat very poorly, but it's because I had a very high metabolism. John de Villiers, don't take that on me personally, please. But I think there was an element of, while playing this beautiful game that has given South Africa back so much, it inspired me in 95. I'd never played the game before. For those of us that were in that moment, it was a watershed one in my life to understand the power that sport can play. I didn't grow up underprivileged, Rob, so I can't even have that equation to think that what was it like to struggle, to go to school for a loaf of bread or a sandwich like Sia Khaleesi was going to, or Makazole Mapimpi that was walking 10 kilometers to school in the morning, 10 kilometers back home in the afternoon, 5 days a week for 5 years of his life. Became the first ever Springbok to score a try in a Rugby World Cup final. So I had a very different upbringing, but I also had an upbringing of understanding the power of creating a brand and the value therein. And I said to a lot of guys, particularly as they come to the ranks, we had opportunities to meet and engage and network throughout the course of my career and the career of a professional athlete. And a lot of the times you see it as a lust, you see it as an effort to do that. But taking a business card and writing an email saying thank you, doing things that show your level, not of integrity, but your level of respect for that person, who somewhere down the line could mean something. So, MatchKit Retroactive started by a schoolmate that knew that there was a brand, there was an opportunity. Mike approached me as I made my announcement. He said, listen, can we do this? And being eloquent, understanding that if you speak well, if you do things decently, you can get a broadcast opportunity of what there might only be one. So it hasn't been easy. I must say, I was like everyone, as scared as anything. I literally sat crying when I got home on making the announcement, because when everything you've known just goes away, and you can't replace it with anything that life gives you going forward. So looking at the priorities of having a family, being a father, being a husband, how I want to continue creating a sustainable living, because all of a sudden you're not earning that income. And I tell everyone, on a field you're with 14 other CEOs, like literally with the best of the best in their position, and you're doing that for 10, 15 years. And if I ask a doctor who's a surgeon in one specific field to say, listen, you're no longer going to practice your surgery on knees, you're now going to become a lawyer, to ask a doctor to then go flip 180 and do that's not easy. So I have been fortunate. I think being surrounded by good people, despite some of the bad choices I made, was very important. And I'm not anywhere where I want to go, but being involved in an environment where you're constantly putting yourself out there learning. And I always tell sportsmen and women, the one thing you got to do in any period of life is you got to learn to unlearn. Because everyone says, the athletes have these amazing transitional skills that they have. They've learned these things that can be really impactful in business. And I'm like, how I spoke to 14 other male CEOs in a change room is very different to the 9 performance scorecard reviews I've got to do with men and women in the next month for my
the boardroom
and in the boardroom on a rugby field you remove emotion from the decision making processes because that's just how you're wired. All of a sudden you get into this corporate environment, and you need to have emotion. You need to be sympathetic and empathetic. You need to be able to display that sort of emotion, because you can't just chase someone out of a team. A team in a business environment is very different. So I'm unlearning to learn a lot, but it's been a massive couple of years for me where I've really tried to grow as much as possible, allow opportunity to come to me, but then, when that opportunity comes, grab it with both hands.
Because you also got to be liquid. Like you talk about how much the players were earning during your professional career. And when you look at the stats, and I think your company did some of the research, and they were talking not just here locally, but also internationally, whether it's gridiron or whatever sport it is. After a couple of years of maybe, let's say you were earning in a year 800K, by the time as a professional athlete you turn 40, you broke. You got nothing.
Yeah, I think there's a stat in the US based on that NFL. I think 5 years after retiring, 70% of NFL players are either divorced, in jail, have committed suicide, or bankrupt, which is a scary stat. And they say 70% of stats get made up on the spot, but it's a reality for athletes. You go from that earning potential of earning the salary of a CEO, and you go into corporate, and there's nothing like professional sports. And I say to everyone, you can't justify someone like Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi, as good and as brilliant as they are, in that earning more than a doctor that does open heart surgery. So as professional athletes, you realize the privilege, particularly as it comes towards the latter part of your career, and you start looking at various job opportunities, and being able to score tries, make a few tackles, get up off the floor for defense, doesn't really equate much from a rugby CV perspective into actually giving a CV in, because a 15-year rugby CV where you can't pivot table on an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, I had to learn that MVP does not mean most valuable player in business. It means something very different. So it has been a stage of unlearning to learn. I've been very fortunate again to have had some really good mentorship, have some good people around me despite some of the bad decisions I made. And like I say, I had to start at the bottom.
But you also needed to make those bad decisions. Otherwise,
agreed.
You won't know whenever you get burned. Spusiso is calling us from Durban. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. My legend is here. You want to ask him a question?
Yes. How are you, Bryan?
Sibusisa, I'm really well, champion. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just glad that I even finally got an opportunity to speak to you. No, I just wanted to ask something. Like, how did you... When you started playing, did you ever foresee that you'll be so popular that you'll be even popular amongst people that didn't watch the game? I remember the euphoria in 2007 at the final, because I remember there was an announcement that all the Springbok jerseys were out. Like, there were no jerseys in the country.
Wow.
No, I mean, Sibusisa, I'm very much like yourself, and I'm not quite sure where you were in 95. I was a 12-year-old boy sitting in Ellis Park, witnessing what happened on the 24th of June, 1995, and having never really played the game, understanding it a little bit, but I got inspired to pick up the game of rugby, and I tell everyone the great story. My first ever game of rugby the following year at King Edward VII School was for the under-14 G side.
Was it the Gs? At
this little minute scrum off that, but I was just, even though I wasn't that good, I couldn't pass to my left hand, I couldn't kick. When I put my shoulder pads on, you couldn't see my neck. It was that bad. You're playing at 8 o'clock in the morning in the Johannesburg winters, which are freezing cold. No. But just having been inspired, and I think we saw it with the 95 Rugby World Cup, we saw it in the 96 African Cup of Nations, how sport really brought the coming together of people, and the inspiration of how people then, and I was one of very few, and John de Villiers, the reason I bring up his name, he told me a stat last year that if you play rugby in your final year of school in South Africa, your chance of becoming a Springbok rugby player in the next decade is something ridiculous like 0.0058%. Because if you think about it, there's only ever been like 940 Springboks since the inception of a Springbok rugby player back in 1891, whatever that is.
Yeah.
There's only ever been 940. And if you think of how many thousands upon thousands of boys and now girls are playing rugby in their final year of school.
And never get to the elite.
And never, well, they often get to elite, but that elite of elite for international level and plays Springbok rugby. So BCC, I like yourself. You know, I was there in 95 dreaming and hoping to one day do that. And I think along the way, and I said to people, you know, you need hard work, you need sacrifice, you need dedication, you need all those really important skills to make it. And that's in any form of life. The one thing no one can determine is luck. Because when it comes your way, you need to be able to grab that opportunity. I didn't select myself in the various teams that I played. You know, there were coaches that were backing me. There were my parents that were supporting me. So yes, being ready for the opportunity when it presents itself. But there's one thing that no one can determine, Sibasiso. So no, I never ever thought. I dreamt, like many people have massive dreams of reaching the moon and potentially landing up amongst the stars. But never in my wildest dream did I think that I'd do and achieve what I was able to do.
Smooth, thank you so much. Calling through from Durban, 011-8838-947, 011-8838-947. Bryan Habana, he's my guest tonight.
Marawa Sports Worldwide Live. In 3, 2, 1. On 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live. #MSW.
Ah, it's payday. Now I can go get a new phone at the mall.
The mall? Just switch to Vodacom. Shop for exclusive online deals from here and save. Like the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE 128 gigs on a 1.2 gig red core data plan. Was $479 per month, now only $449 per month over 36 months. Save 1,080 Rand.
Offer valid for a limited time. Shop online with Vodacom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
It's a carnival celebration of arts and crafts at P&A from 18 to 31 May. We have the widest variety of arts and crafts products for the crafters, the hobbyists, and even the professional artists. Discover a new talent or expand your creativity with up to 15% discount on selected arts and crafts products. Available at your local P&A store. P&A, color your world. T's and C's apply.
Get out of the cold and into your bed. It's month-end madness at Dial-A-Bed with 20% off any mattress, any size, any length, any of our best brands. Bases available as optional extras, plus enjoy immediate delivery on our best sellers. Promo valid this week only, so hurry. Dial-A-Bed. Sleep for life.
Vava's J, when your friends were your Chinas, even though they were not from China. Vava's J, when Vava's J was a hit song on radio. Where were you when Panarotis had the Santa Fe, the Rib-Rack, the New Orleans, and the sweet chili chicken and pepper Jew pizza on their menu? I don't lie when abongeko, Maraskawara. All those great pizzas we enjoyed when Philip was here are back at Panarotis for only 129.90 each. Panarotis, big on family, big on pizza.
Join the experts in appliances and electronics. Expert Diamond Corner for their Go Gold weekend. Cooking demos, games and prizes, and big savings. Like 30% off selected Bosch and Siemens fridges, dishwashers, coffee machines, and more. Save and do good by raising funds for CHOC, the Childhood Cancer Foundation, this weekend at Woodmead Retail Park opposite Woolworths. For more info, go to expertdiamondcorner.co.za.
This is 947.
Every gamer's ultimate quest. The endless search to top up your game. And then you download the Carry First Shop app. The app to top up all other apps and games, from PlayStation to Steam, Free Fire and PUBG. From airtime to Uber and Pick and Pay vouchers. Earn rewards every time you shop. Enter promo code 947 for 20% off your next purchase. All hail the Carry First Shop app. Shop smarter, shop Carry First.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
I guess so many highs and so many lows, for the Rich Boys. Let's reflect briefly on their first campaign in top flight football. The Richards Bay coach, Vasily Monosakis, joins me on the line. You can never escape sometimes, Vasily, rumors, and people will say, hey, the chairman of the club is interfering with the technical team during the season when things weren't going well.
He didn't interfere. He was very, very supportive, to be honest with you. He was confused, and there were a lot of opinions flying around, and sometimes in these times, Rob, you have to just stay calm and unpack and have a look at the facts. Don't let emotions take over. It's not the level of PSL football to score 20 goals in a season and expect it to be in the top 8.
#MSW. #MSW. Friday nights, always. This is how we do it. About our beloved legends. Pull up your chair. Let's chat legendary stuff. Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Now here goes Adams once again. Wide for Habana. Gets past one, gets to another. This could be it. This is it. Habana has scored. Have the Bulls pulled this out of the fire? They cannot believe it. The Sharks. There's a deathly hush around this park. Floyd to put him off his kick. And it's over. It's over. It's 20 points to 19 to the Bulls. The game is over. Bryan Habana, there is celebrations going on. The Sharks supporters cannot believe.
I was just looking at your smile. You're visualizing that, weren't you?
Yeah, so it's been 15, 16 years already since that moment, and I'm pretty close to that actual moment.
19 May,
yeah.
2007.
2007, I think in today's rugby, I would not even have been on the field. Had a very nasty clash with Percy Montgomery early on. I don't know how I didn't get carded. The referee was an interesting one that game, and that was probably, and a lot of people don't understand. I mean, because you play with the Springbok rugby players quite a bit, so the likes of a John, a Butch, a Percy, Bob Skinsat, all the guys that were in the Sharks team, and obviously my clash with Percy was horrible and horrendous, and now I take full accountability and responsibility for that now. As a Bulls team, everyone had trained towards that point to win that, and I do tell all the Shark supporters, please, if you're going to blame anyone, blame Derek Hogarth for kicking the winning points. Because I didn't actually score the winning points. He had to make the conversion.
Your match conversion was there, yeah.
But yeah, that was an incredible moment. And I think, to have the first ever Super Rugby final in South Africa, with 2 South African teams competing, really just set the precedent for what was to come in Rugby World Cup 2007. And that was after, a lot of people tend to forget, 2006, we got beaten 49-0 by Australia in Brisbane. John Smith was being told that he is too old to be a captain. Jake White was being told that he was the wrong coach to be in place for Rugby World Cup. I was told, I'm a one-hit wonder. It was just 2004, 2005. They hadn't seen any more of me. So there was a lot of pressure on us, and the galvanization of the team post that Super Rugby final, where the Sharks were absolutely distraught, and rightfully so. The manner in which the Bulls, obviously we celebrated, but, almost humbled ourselves to be able to then get into camp literally that next day. We came into camp that next day against England that following weekend. So an incredible memory for a really special Bulls team that would then go on to become a juggernaut in South African rugby and Super Rugby in that time period.
I wonder what people's memories are of that game. I know the Bulls players already celebrating before Hogarth did what he did. 2019 was that victory. So if you do have, you want to share some of those memories, please do call us 011-8838-947. Lots of your WhatsApp voice notes.
This is Odysseus here in Cape Town. Well, what a great legend. He has done almost everything which has to be done as far as rugby is concerned. World Player of the Year. He won countless trophies with the Blue Bulls and the Stormers, and also winning the World Cup. There's one question which I want to ask Rob. It might be controversial. It's Peter de Villiers, always vilified, always underrated. What's his take on Peter de Villiers, not as a coach, but as a person? I mean, much has been said in the press that he was not a very good coach, but I'd like to ask him, what is he? What is the type of person he is as a person? Thank you so much, Rob. Great legend. Brian,
thank you so much, Audacious in Cape Town. He says it's controversial. I don't know if it is. Peter de Villiers is Peter de Villiers. He's a straight shooter. He's got the success under his belt. What more do you ask for? But give me that personal touch, though.
Yeah, I don't think it's in any way controversial. I'm very fortunate to have a special relationship with Peter. I was a 21-year-old that got selected for my first ever national level experience to play for the junior box under 21s. Peter de Villiers was then coach. Took me to Scotland, and I had an incredible experience of getting to know a person who knew that rugby meant a lot to South Africans, but was much more intrigued with the well-being and consideration of the young boys that he was then coaching. And when he then became the Springbok coach in 2008, there was already a relationship. And I think through the highs and the lows, and people say he wasn't a good coach, I think when you become the first ever coach in the professional era of Springbok rugby to win back-to-back successive years the All Blacks in New Zealand, you beat the British and Irish Lions, you beat the New Zealand to win the Tri-Nations back then. These credentials, were really there for everyone to see. I think the manner in which he was a straight shooter in a press conference, he was always under a lot of pressure, and I think it was from the outset, when South African Rugby announced his appointment, it literally was, we've looked at more than just the coaching ability, which I think, put Peter under the cosh right from the beginning. But as a manager, and you can speak to a lot of that squad from 2008 to 2011, the manner in which Peter treated us like adults, any person inheriting a team that had just won a World Cup, was going to have certain challenges, and the manner in which he was always a straight shooter. He never put discussions to bed around the corner. He came straight to you and spoke as though you were a son or a father, or you were the son, he was the father, and really as a mentorship. So I've said it publicly how much respect I have for Peter. I think he's gone under a lot, and he's lost his daughter, his wife, and everything has happened, and yet he's remained true to his own core ability. He hasn't veered off the positiveness that he's always resounded with, whether it be in the media, whether it be on the training field, whether it be in the boardroom. And he's in a position now where he's struggling, a coach that has gone on to do some very successful things with the Springboks, with the junior box. So a lot of respect for him, vilified potentially for various reasons, but someone that you could never look in a different way of pure honesty. And that was always what you got with Peter.
I always got a sense that some of the there were certain media that were out to get him, and they start to use strange things, talking about the man's voice and his delivery and how silly he sounded at press conferences. It had nothing to do with the man's ability. And to go with that success rate for so long, you almost find that he was barred. At times, higher society, they take action and make sure that you don't get employed anywhere else. They start to ask maybe in Namibia if you can come across the border to come and coach there. But from a South African perspective, there's no way any franchise is going to be able to take you as well. Let me just quickly take a caller. Nati's been holding on for a while in Newcastle. Good evening, Nati.
Hey, how are you, Mr. Rob?
I'm great, man. Our legends, go ahead.
But Rob, why did you have to remind me about that game?
I'm so sorry. I take it back, man.
I told your producer that the reason why I'm calling Bryan Habana is because of that match.
Wow.
When I heard the commentator saying a try and a conversion can still do it for the Bulls, I said, not today. And then I don't know how it happened and where the thing came. Even today, I still had those visuals in my mind, Brian. You really had me that day, bro.
Sorry, Nati. I really apologize.
You were a very good player, but more especially in 2007 when you won the rugby final. I couldn't watch that match because I was in church. When I came back, I was not interested in the score because I knew we beat England. In the first match, we beat them 49-0.
Yeah.
And in the final, my only question was, did Brian score the try? Because
to break the record.
Saying we're sharing the try record with someone from somewhere. And then I wanted you to own that record to be yours. That's why my first question was, did he score the try? And then they said no.
Sorry, Nati. I tried my best. That was a final where the wingers didn't get much ball. Hey, we only kicked penalties that day.
I know. I watched the replay of that game. But, Brian, thank you for what you did, guys, for us. When Madiba said sport unites people, I never thought maybe I would sit down and watch the rugby game. But you're one of those guys who made me to sit down and watch and enjoy the rugby game. Thank you.
I really appreciate that, Nati. Thank you very much for
Beautiful
sharing.
memories, man. Thank you, Nati.
Thank you.
Nati calling us in Newcastle. A couple of the tributes that have been coming in, and one thing while we're talking about that game, in fact, let me link it to what somebody that you know very, very well, that we all know very well, also includes in his tribute to you.
Bryan Habana was one of the best players, if not the best player that's ever played a game of rugby. An unbelievable player. You know, the word that comes to mind if I think about Bryan, he's a true professional, not just on the field, but off the field as well. I was very fortunate to see him develop from a youngster at the Bulls into the superstar try-scoring machine, and just to see his work ethic was really inspiring to me. Small things impressed me in life, and the thing that impresses me the most about Bryan was that although he was a superstar, recognized all over the world, he was always the same humble guy that I've met the first time. He would be the guy, when he was at his best at the Bulls, playing 100 test matches, he would be the guy that wake up in the morning at 5, helping to unload the buses, helping to unload the trucks, helping the youngsters at the airport, just inspiring, leading them, helping them. You know, you don't get that. There's a lot of superstars that just sit back, and the youngsters must do all the dirty work. With Bryan, it was different. You know, he would just go out there, help everybody, always be positive, and just an unbelievable leader off the field as well. He was a true ambassador for South Africa, even up to this day. And again, you know, what really stood out is that sometimes we had to wait for him in the bus because he always took extra time to sign autograph, go out there, play with little kids, you know, just being out there for the public. And he was recognized all over the world and took a lot of time, and we had to wait for him a lot of times. But, I mean, he was always the same, going out there, make a difference in people's lives, and that was a great example for the youngsters that he set. So as a coach, you don't get a lot of opportunities to coach guys like this. He enriched my life at all levels, and I'll be thankful for that. What a great human being, what a great man. And Bryan is the type of guy that will be successful, whatever type of line or whatever job he does after rugby, because it's ingrained in his DNA. That's who he is. He's a winner on and off the field. So I want to thank him for what he's done to me. And I salute you, Bryan Habana, one of the best superstars that's ever played the game of rugby.
Sure.
Yeah, Rob, you're going to make me cry here, dude. Friday night, I thought we were letting the hair loose, man.
Yeah, we paid the tributes, man. You know exactly who was talking there, hey?
Yeah, Heineke Meyer. And I talk about mentors. I'll never forget, I was a young 21-year-old playing for the Lions. I just had my breakthrough year, you know, played S under 21s under Peter de Villiers. Got back, and you know, the then Lions coach, I'd come back. I'd got an offer to go to play for the Brumbies in Australia post the Rugby World Cup that the juniors had, and went to this coach, and he was like, "No, go. If you don't make it there, you can come back." And I just like put my future, like, what do you mean I can go? Am I not good enough to be around? Yeah. And then Ian Swartz, who was sort of you know, one of the managers at the Bulls at that stage, called me up, and we met himself and Heineke at the Protea Hotel there in Midrand, and I'd obviously been getting a lot of flack because the rumors that started coming that there were talks and whatever. You know, I've been very successful at the Lions from a prize score. And I was like, you're going to go to the Bulls. They're going to play 10-man rugby, this, that. And I'm like, yes, there was just like these heated debates happening in my head. Yeah. Devil on one side, Angel, stay at the Lions. You know, Devil saying, no, go to the Bulls. And I'll never forget Heineke's, it wasn't a audacious understanding of what he wanted to do. He was like, listen, I'm developing something at the Bulls. I really believe that you're going to be a superstar. Whether you're at the Bulls, at the Lions, you're going to be a superstar. But I believe we're developing something at the Bulls that you can play a massive contribution towards in achieving something that no South African side has ever achieved. And I'd never heard that by anyone else before, and sort of had a guideline of, you know, how I was going to get there. And I was like, I sat there fascinated looking at this coach that had just won a Currie Cup for the second time, you know, with a very young Bulls team, you know, the likes of Victor, Bucky's Ferry, you know, there were just so many incredible players, young Derek Hougaard. It was just a phenomenal. I'm like, okay, this is a massive decision. Like, I've only ever known Joburg for 21 years, and for the level of comfort it gave me, and then to go on that journey, there were highs, there were lows. Heineke was also very much like Peter, always being forthright, and I'll never forget some of the trainings where we were like, if you get on his wrong side, you are not going to find the way out. But I do want to just correct one fact that he said, like just helping out, you know, at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, when I woken up, I hadn't woken up. I probably hadn't gone to sleep yet.
Sleepwalking.
So it was pretty easy to go straight and arriving to the hotel to go help out. But I think that's one of the biggest things that I really did try to, Rob, instill in my career is the level of professionalism, and no matter who you dealt with, the respect you had for your coaches, your fellow teammates, the public. I didn't always get it right. I'll be 100% brutally honest. Yeah. You don't always get to every signature. You don't always, take every photo. Thank goodness cell phone cameras only came out towards the end of the first part of my career. So you try your best as possible. You're never perfect. And I think for me, it was also that Heineke May actually had a brilliant thing called the Kaizen principle, continuous improvement. And I think I always tell people my most incredible moment as a rugby player was getting to wear that Springbok jumper for the very first time in 2004. There were World Cups, there were Super Rugbies, there were all these incredible trophies, try-scoring stuff. But that moment for me, again, being took me back to being in 95 in that stadium. 9 years later, you sit there and just knowing the privilege and the accountability that then rested on my shoulders. And I didn't just want to be a one-time Bok. And I sat there, again, scoring a try against the then world champions England at the home of Rugby Twickenham was incredible. But that feeling that I got and the immense of pride, I was fortunate enough to have my family there. So just understanding the responsibility, the accountability, but more the privilege that we got as sportsmen and women to do what we did, live out your talent that God had blessed you with, to do something incredible. So Heineke, again, I spoke about certain mentors, certain people along your road, and everyone asked me, who's the best coach? And I'm saying it's not only wrong of me to give a best coach, but it's not fair to each and every coach that played a part in not only the rugby player I became, but the person I became. Because each and every one of them not only selected me, they've played an incredibly important mentorship role in my developmental phase as a very young wet behind the ears boy to a senior male in the team. So to all the coaches, both at school, junior level rugby, Springbok coaches, provincial rugby, Bernard Laporte, maybe not so much over in France because he always just shouted at me. But to each and every one of them, I need to give the biggest amount of thanks and gratitude for selecting me, for supporting me, for mentoring me, for being real and transparent and honest, and also, again, being real, which sometimes you don't always see in a press conference, in a media release, and the live
schedules. So you got to put up a certain front almost. It's not a human approach. But Coach Heineke May, thank you so much indeed. Great tribute. You kind of almost got this man to cry. I was getting worried there.
Marawa Sports Worldwide Live. In 3, 2, 1. On 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live. #MSW.
Do you know how hard it is to manage a cash business?
It's too risky. You don't have the tools.
Do what others say you can't with our various payment solutions for merchants. Get paid cashless on the go with our secure POS devices like PocketBiz, or cardless with our digital wallet and online payment solutions. Start, manage, and grow your business at standardbank.co.za/rise above the noise. Standard Bank, it can be. Standard Bank is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Experience the thrill of the all-new futuristic Amoda C5 Lux, where cutting-edge technology meets luxury. Innovative styling includes dual 10-inch screens, ambient lights, voice command, a wireless charging dock, dual-zone automatic AC, and powered sports seats. Cross into the future of driving with an Amoda C5 Lux, available now from only 477,900 Rand. Visit amoda.co.za to book your test drive now.
The odds could be in your favor with Lotto Star's live roulette games. Just spin the wheel 24/7 on Roulette Live, Double Ball Roulette, Speed Roulette, Diamond Roulette, the electrifying Lightning Roulette, and many others for a chance to win payouts of over 6 million Rand instantly. Our tables are always ready for you. Take your seat now. Lotto Star, your world of live games. Lotto Stars, licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No under 18s. National Responsible Gambling Program. 0800 006 008. T's and C's apply. All games are fixed odds betting events.
The Van Heerdens are strapped in for their road trip to the coast.
Mommy.
But they have no Wi-Fi.
Stop, I'm tired.
That means no TikTok, no YouTube, and no way to distract the triplets.
Are we there yet?
Move, share, and connect wherever with the new MTN mobile internet plans. Share data with up to 5 people with 15 gigs anytime data for 149 on a month-to-month contract. Visit an MTN store or mtn.co.za today. T's and C's apply. Doing goes where you go. MTN.
All right.
Oh, can I? Yo, wait. Skip the. Yo, wait. With KFC Q Skip, order and pay online to get in and get out. No queue when you collect. Only on the KFC app.
Are you ready?
This
is
9, 4, 7. I am a Ngitla Gonke snackist, but some snacks I've tried have made me break my scale. Then I tried to do the right thing, and I tried a different snack, but it was like eating paper, you know? And in that moment, I became a Kipagonke snackist. Can you believe it? What is a Ngitla Gonke snackist like me to do, eh?
Safanatum Mzansi Snackist, introducing new Tastic air-popped rice chips. The perfect snack for all Mzansi Snackists. Enjoy a whole lot of good with a whole lot of taste. The good you need with the taste you want. Tastic, perfect every time.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide. I mean, they are the new Diski Challenge champions. And they said, you know what, we're going to bring the trophy. Top of September. Firstly, congratulations, champ.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
What's been the big difference this season?
A good start. I think last season we had a bad start and then we had a good run, 10 games unbeaten towards the end of the season. And then that's where we ended up 1 point short from Stellenbosch. And this time around we started well. Players, I'm so proud of them. The club, this is the only trophy that the club has been missing in terms of the development. And to be the one that brings it in, I think I must keep Gavin close to me because we're still working close to him and I'm learning a lot.
Hashtag MSW. Hashtag MSW. Friday nights, always.
This is how we do it.
About our beloved legends. Pull up your chair. Let's chat legendary stuff. Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Other Rob, just wanted to say congratulations for getting the legend that's Bryan Habana into studio. Yeah, just such a wonderful man and such a, apart from that one very, very bad mistake he made in scoring the winning try for the Bulls at Kings Park. We've forgiven him because he's done so much for the sport in this country. And, even till today, we look at Bryan and we tell our youngsters to really make sure that, they live up to the standards that the great Bryan Habana set for everyone.
Thank you so much. That's the Sharks CEO, Edward Coetzee.
Oh, Eddie, what a good man. I got to do a bit of a leadership course with Ed and a few other incredible sports administrators in South Africa. And I think it's really great to see, sports administration in South Africa moving in this very modern era and incredibly led by the likes of Edward, Edgar Rathbone, at the Bulls and a lot of others. Thando Manana that's now moving into a women's specific role at the Bulls in terms of growing. And I think it's great to see vibrant, young, forward-thinking people. And Ed is leading that charge. And I'm not quite sure if he's putting it in his CV. I know Rian Ober also is currently acting CEO of SA Rugby, but Mr. Coetzee,
reckon he'd be the right man? I mean, he's a learned guy. I think he's done his
he's a doctor.
Masters.
No, he's Dr. Ed Coetzee.
Ed,
he has forced us to do it on a night out drinking. Outside of that, it's Ed. He's just Ed. But not only learned, I think articulate, and the way he brings himself across, you can hear there's something deeper. Which is brilliant. So, do I think Ed Coetzee has what it takes to become the CEO of SA Rugby? I definitely think. I think what he's done with the Sharks, and as much as they haven't performed on field this year, the structures that they've built,
the transformation,
the outside influence that they brought in, forward-thinking manner of doing things differently, but also really coming to the core of upskilling young men and women, really giving them the tools to make a success not only of rugby but of life, which has been brilliant. So now they only need to get Beyonce coming to sing at Kings Park Stadium at some point.
Can you imagine Beyonce? I think Thando Manana will be the backup singer.
Hey, Bryan Habana, the world's most lethal rugby player, to have done the green and gold. Mate, you've done so much for rugby in this country. It's always been a pleasure just watching you, and also had an opportunity to be with you and walk, although it's not 1,000 miles, but walk a journey that I enjoyed, both yourself as an individual, as someone who motivates, as someone who cares for others, but also plays a meaningful role to society. I wish you nothing but the best. And I think rugby will see you for years to come. And I personally, and I'm still saying that, as much as you don't want to be an administrator, but I feel that you'll be a great person if you were to slot into that role. But nonetheless, Thando Yepa, and good to good to hear that today you're on the legend. You are a legend. And as you know, everybody loves a winner. You're a Rugby World Cup winner. Lots of accolades behind your name. And I think what is nice, Bryan, from your side is you're an honest man.
Oh, pa.
Tando Manana. The room divided. Thank you so much indeed for coming through. You know what? I'm going to try let Bryan not to talk too much. I'm not going to talk too much.
Sorry,
I'm going to let all of these beautiful tributes that have poured into our studio for you, Bryan, to absorb, because a lot of the gentlemen and the ladies you know very well.
Hey, Bryan. Just want to say, pal, you've been a trailblazer. You've set records. You've set standards. You've been an example as a father, as a South African citizen, as someone that everyone looks up to. We are inspired by the work that you have done after the rugby, which just shows you what a great man that you are. Keep on raising the stakes and keep on changing people's minds about what is possible. And as you know, you got those 3 stripes. Nothing is impossible. Cheers, pal. All the best. Yes, you are a legend. You Centurion, you.
Otherwise, you will. Kobani Bobo.
Kobani Bobo.
So just a quick one on Bobs. So Bobs was my senior when I came through the ranks at the Lions.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when that specific coach said, no, go overseas. I had him, Topis Lagrange, Lagranchi, Jock Fourie, Yori Miller.
Yeah.
And Bobs was one of those guys. I'm like, oh, he's a player of color. I'm a player of color. Am I gonna get space? Given the South African context, a phenomenal.
This was a quota situation that was going on then, so we could have put that context.
There was very much that back then. So. But a fantastic schoolboy rugby player and one that became inspirational for me as a youngster. An incredible golfer at the moment. I think he's a +2. Bobs, we need to get you off the golf course and get you into business, man. If that long drive is anything to go by, you must do well.
There you are. Kobani, an open invitation, boss.
Hey, Robert, you surely have an undisputed legend featured tonight. The name Bryan Habana has meant so many things and so much to so many people over the years. He is only the second highest capped Springbok in all Springbok history, a player that has been known as one of the most prolific players to ever don the number 11 jersey. I am equally inspired by Bryan's drive to always play it forward. This we see in the work that he's charted around conservation issues, around his entrepreneurial spirit, and the work that he's done to promote young and upcoming athletes and assisting them in their careers. For me, one of the most important things to mention is that Bryan will always represent a generation of players who inspired the youth and to show them what is possible. He truly is one of our own South African legends that has inspired so many people and has really been part of a group of players that has continually lifted the spirits of Mzansi. Thank you, Bryan. I'm so excited that you're being featured this evening. I'll be listening intently on the radio, and keep doing what you're doing. Keep inspiring the next generation, and all of the best with the projects that you're busy with at the moment. We're always looking forward to what you are up to. Follow your social media platforms closely, and yes, do what you do best, and that is to be an inspiration to South Africa.
Marissa
Langeni. I'm grateful her and Pa didn't speak Xhosa to each other, because we did this leadership course and the two of them were like hens in a farmyard. They just were at each other the whole time. And I was like, I'm going to start speaking French here. What's going on? Marissa, you and also an incredible woman doing so much for South African sports, not just hockey, not just like for everything. Incredibly articulate, and it was good to get to know you a bit. So thank you, Marissa. It's very kind.
What a leader. Marissa, I got mad respect for you. You know that. Miguel's in Pretoria. Good evening.
Good evening, Rob. How are you, sir?
I'm very strong. I've got one of the world's greatest legends here sitting in the studio.
You're showing off, Rob. It was champion 2 days in a row and now a legend.
Of the caliber of Bryan Habana. We've got to finish that sentence.
The caliber of Bryan Habana. Bryan, it's an honor to speak to you, man. I just wanted to find out, firstly, congrats with what you've achieved and continue to achieve. Rob and I actually spoke on Monday about what Sundowns does, and they invest in human capital and whatever. And I just wonder, why are the Springboks not doing that? Why are they not investing in Bryan Habana to be part of that change room, to help the youngsters who come through especially the world we live in now with all the social media and all this pressures. Is there something you'd look into if it was ever offered to you?
Good question, Miguel. I'll ask you to listen on the radio, my friend. Thank you so much. Right?
Yeah, Miguel, thanks. Thank you for those kind words. Is it something I'd look into? I don't know. The opportunity hasn't really been presented to me. I do think there's some incredible. I know my players, the Players Union in South Africa is doing quite a bit around the future of players outside of the sport, educating them, social media upbringings and stuff like that. I think I'm very fortunate that I sort of got to a time when we were winning the World Cup in 2007, Rob. I was counting how many Facebook friend requests we were getting.
Oh, wow.
That was literally the only social media platform we have. There was no TikTok, there was no Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all this stuff. So I think this generation, is really bombarded with something that and I got sort of the end of it in my career, at the end of my career, but I think this generation has so much more to deal with. The public scrutiny that's now very evident. For us, we went to go read the newspaper on a Sunday, seeing what your report card was, what your score was. So, I can't. You look at a Sia that's got just under 1 million. Instagram followers. You look at someone like AB de Villiers, Faf WC. So it's a very different generation. Would I be available to mentor? I probably would. Sure. I know myself and Mark Alexandria, current president, have had a few discussions. I've just been in a very different position the last couple of years in terms of where I'm going in my own post-rugby journey. So would I be available? Probably. But yeah, I think there's a little more to dig in should it happen.
But not to coach, though.
I have a massive amount of respect for coaches. I think the fact that also when you're done, how much effort, because I've gotten a few opportunities to potentially go into a form of coaching in the last while. A coach works much harder than a player, has to deal with a lot more crap. If I deal with that, not only these fellow coaching staff, players, the media, the scrutiny of administration, the scrutiny of the public. You're moving around every 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, 1 year in my second last season in Toulon, I think we had 4 coaches in a season. Yeah. And then you're moving your family, and my family's offered up so much for what I want to do, chasing my dreams, to then continually moving them around. So I have a massive amount of respect for coaches, for the manner in which they give back to the game, because without them, rugby sports wouldn't exist. So at the moment, probably not. I've given the game quite a bit, and I appreciate what I've given it and what it's given me. But the matter that the coaches put in is on a tenfold opportunity that I'm not going to look at presently.
Hi, Rob. Sibusiso Mjigeli. So here, sports writer. Wow, if you're going to talk about legends in sport, South African legends, in fact, Bryan Habana is right up there on the list of the biggest legends we've ever had. And what a guy. What a brilliant individual as well, to meet, to get to know, and to work with. We worked together with Bryan, putting together the Makazole Mapimpi documentary, the award-winning documentary of the 2019 World Cup winning Springbok. What strikes me about Bryan is his relatability. I mean, here's a guy that was at the peak of his powers in the 2000s, right up to the teens and until he retired in France. But still very recognizable, still very approachable, still a person you will see everywhere in South Africa. You'll see him at sevens, you'll see him at Super Rugby games, at test matches. A truly South African legend is Bryan Habana. And I think from that class of 2007 that won the World Cup, guys like Bryan are still some of the most revered people, even after their rugby careers have ended. So well done, and all the best to Bryan with everything that he's doing after his career. Great guy.
Sure.
Spoo. Yeah, Spoo's great to have worked with him. And again, there's so many stories that get untold, Rob, and I think Spoo's one of those guys that has really delved to some of the depths of a lot of the untalked or unspoken about things that has brought it to life. And Tanda's book, he was integral in telling Makazole Mapimpi's story, and a guy that, again, I just formed a contribution. And the more contributions we have, particularly from someone like Spoo, I think the more learned people become, and the better we can look at other people and look at them from the lenses with which they see life, not with the lenses which we see life. So Spoo, you have to champion. Wishing you continued success in all that you take on, good sir.
Evening, Robert. MSW 947 in the presence of a modern day legend. Thanks for bringing this man into your studios, and so we can get to know him a lot better, even though I've commentated quite a few games of that legend and the green and gold. And of course for the Lions before that. Thinking about what this man has done. Looking back, 2004 debut against England. A week later, after he scored a try, of course, on debut, 2 tries against Scotland. And the rest is history, as they say. And 2007 World Cup. You think about that World Cup. The only name that comes into mind is of Bryan Habana. And what a story, man. What a story. And I wonder if Bryan, when he started, of course, we all know the story that he started as a scrum half and also played as a centre as well, outside centre. I wonder if he ever thought that he would end up as a winger for the Springboks, and let alone like an all-time try scorer. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you so much indeed. You literally got 20 seconds.
No, I didn't. I thought I was going to become a Springbok scrum half, and then Lofi Elof changed me to a centre, and the rest is history. I'm not quite sure I would have made it anyway if you look at the likes of a Fourie du Preez, Enrico January, and all the others, Francois Hougaard that came, Ruan Pienaar. So, very happy that Lofi changed me to become a centre, which then eventually became wing, and then I never looked back under Jake White.
Remain the legend that you are. You can see now why we needed to do this. Probably need to do it again, so we get into the nitty-gritty of the rugby aspect. But in celebrating you as a legend, absolute pleasure, Bryan Habana, our guest here tonight. Everything of the best moving forward, sir.
Thank you very much, and to all the fans, all the supporters. You don't understand how much you mean to professional athletes around the world. So thank you for all the support. What we did would not have been possible without you. To those that don't get the limelight, the coaches, the family, the friends, the support through the thick and thin. Never forget how important your role is as well. So to the whole South Africa, let's get behind Siya Kolisi in the box for 2023 Rugby World Cup to bring it back home.
Absolutely. Bryan Habana talking about the Rugby World Cup happening in 105 days.
Marawa Sports Worldwide Live.
In 3, 2, 1.
On 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live. #MSW.